Welcome to HugNation. It is 1 o'clock on the West Coast, and it is HugNation time all over the world. And if you are watching the archive, well then, this bottled up, energetic thing is now releasing into your world, and it's HugNation time now. So the topic of the day is activism, and specifically Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street is a movement. It is a actual physical action. It is something that is taking place in New York, as well as now they're having these satellite movements or experiences or actions in other cities. I know there's one in LA this weekend. There's one in San Diego, I think, in 2 weeks. And why are they doing this? What is the point? What is the goal of all of this movement and activism? Well, for that, we have to go back many decades to when the world was still cooling and dinosaurs roamed, and Americans believed that they were just and right in the world. You know, we'd taken down Hitler. We were doing good. We were industrializing the world. We were the police. We were the righteous ones who had every right to go into other countries and help them. But maybe we've been unjust all along. Probably. Almost surely. Or maybe education and information started to just become hard to suppress. But very soon we began exposed to more and more of this deceit from the top. I grew up in a post-Nixon world, which was very different than a pre-Nixon world. The idea that our leaders could be anything but our, flag-waving, personified patriotism and just and righteousness is significant. And if you think about it, people a little bit younger than me have never actually been alive in a time when we weren't at war. So this idea of that is just the way things are. We live in a world where there is corruption. We live in a world where we are at war. And we live in a world where these actions, even though the people that we know don't actually want these things, we kind of assume that this system and all the pressures and the corruption of it, it's just the way it is. So, I don't know if you remember, but close to 4 years ago, we had hope. We voted for a presidential candidate that was so different than the past that his skin was an actual different color. And we said, this is the action. This is the act and the solidarity and the sign telling all those in power, we want change. We have hope. And then something amazing happened. Nothing happened. And so a generation and generations of people that had felt like, what does it matter? There's really no, the two parties are one party. Our vote doesn't really matter. Finally got off the couch and got excited. Okay, we're going to do this, and realized, it doesn't really matter. And so a lot of people settled into the, well, that's just the way it is. And the scary thing is, if you look at the trends of distribution of wealth, and if you look at legislation slowly over time, it's not like there was just one vote that said, okay, let's now make it easier for corporations to, kind of grow and crush. Let's make it easier for the super wealthy to maintain that path. It's a gradual and in some ways consensual path that we've all been on. And one thing that I want to point out is that this system, while it's easy to project evil men orchestrating it all, and there may be evil men orchestrating certain aspects of it, the system has flaws in it. The system is corrupt. Not in the sense that it's corrupt that there is malice intentionally. The system itself has pieces of it that have gotten bent, and then the whole system is now like on a limp. A lot of that having to do with legal status of corporations. And the big one is the electoral process and the situation we have where elected officials right now spend the majority of their time campaigning to be elected officials. And that money and marketing determines elections. So, if money and marketing determines elections, then getting money and satisfying the desires of those in power becomes a self-fulfilling, self-amplifying. Look, if you give me money, then I will be motivated to help you out. If I help you out, you get more money. See how that works for everybody's benefit? Oh, wait, it doesn't work for everybody's benefit. So, I'm gonna, people have now always, there are people who are frustrated and angry. And there are always people who are trying to find solutions. As we've seen in recent months, there have been other countries that have had similar states of frustration and have taken to the streets and had action that have made significant changes in their countries. Now, in this modern world, it's never possible to tell where the motivation for this change comes from. Did some powerful, mad, chess-playing genius plant a story or, give money to somebody who then decides to protest about this? There's all sorts of talk about how the Tea Parties are financed by people who have a lot to gain from that benefit and attitude. Clearly, our press is massively influenced. I mean, we have the internet, thank goodness, because I don't think they're going to put this broadcast on Fox News. But we have the internet, and then we have the existing media, which is, well, I don't have time to go into how incestuous and integrated that is to the other corporate powers of this country. Okay, I'm getting ahead or behind myself, hard to say. So recently, people said, and I'm actually not, I don't historically know what the final things that got people going, that's it! We're occupying Wall Street. And so a bunch of people taken to the streets, they're living outside, they're saying, we're frustrated, we're angry. And beyond that, it's a little hard to say what they want. So they finally issued a decree of what they want. And so I'm just going to read that, or at least until it gets too long. Okay. Because I had the same trouble that a lot of people did. It's like, well, we get that you're angry. What do you want? And they said, here's our one demand. On September 21st, 2011, Troy Davis, an innocent man, was murdered by the state of Georgia. Troy Davis was one of the 99%. Ending capital punishment is our one demand. On September 21st, 4 of our members were arrested on baseless charges. Ending police intimidation is our one demand. On September 21st, the richest 400 Americans owned more than half of the country's population. Ending wealth inequality is our one demand. On September 21st, we determined that Yahoo lied about OccupyWallStreet.org being spam filters. Ending corporate censorship is our one demand. Roughly 80% of Americans thought the country was on the wrong track. Ending the modern Gilded Age is our one demand. Roughly 15% of Americans approved of the job Congress is doing. Ending political corruption is our one demand. On September 21st, roughly 1/6 of Americans did not have work. Ending joblessness is our one demand. Okay, I'm going to stop. Clearly, there is multiple demands. It's kind of a laundry list of why the system sucks. Now, this is not a focused protest. It is more a demonstration of frustration. And I think that in my mind there's a little bit of different of that. If there was something to protest, a specific thing, you could put pressure on it and you could invite people, look at all this collective action, let's all act in a way to put pressure. The system, because it is basically math, if there's able for this thing to make more money by doing this, it does it. If this is able to make more money by paying a lobbyist and it makes more money than it costs to pay the lobbyist, it does it. It's not like, it's simple math. So if you actually want to change the system, you have to affect the math. For example, if they said, Yahoo lied about Occupy Wall Street. They said Yahoo is owned by this company. Everybody who believes in this cause, stop buying this, stop frequenting this. And if we could show that there is a difference that makes that people's actual actions affect the bottom line of a company, well, suddenly the corporate ear, because it's a math system, goes, dunk, this affects me. I now need to listen. Okay, so on one hand, yeah, what are we trying to do here? What's the point? There is a point, and it is important, and this is why. It is very easy to look at mainstream media, feel these things that you're reading about, and going, yes, I demand that too. But you see mainstream media and you go, ugh, this country doesn't care. There's no way we're ever going to make these changes. I remember after Bush was elected the second time, the feeling of despair I had was probably the deepest I've ever felt, because it's like, it was one thing to be like, oh my gosh, we made a mistake. Come on, brothers and sisters, comrades in arms, let's fix this, let's get on the right path. And then to see that a majority of my neighbors in this country said, yeah, let's do 4 more years of this. Whoa. And that's kind of how you feel when you turn on the news and you see like the craziness. You know, you watch The Daily Show and you go, how could this be the same crazy, corrupt story every night? So I think the purpose of Occupy Wall Street is not to say, this is what we want. It's to say, come on, everybody. Can we just collectively say we can do better? Can we collectively say there are some serious things that we need to just say, this is wrong. This is not the way to make a more perfect union. We can brainstorm. We can come together. We can decide what is important. Maybe what we're willing to sacrifice. What we're willing to take action for, what we're willing to not buy, what we're willing to work for. And as we get together, so these collective places of people, what I'm seeing in the videos and what I'm hearing from people is that there are these energetic boosts to get people inspired. So it's kind of like how I see Burning Man. People argue that what a waste Burning Man is, you know, and if you were somebody in power, it would be a genius thing to start Burning Man, because you get all the best and brightest left-wing thinkers to spend all of their energy on this thing that doesn't really do anything. It's just this kind of, you know, all bark, no bite, all sizzle, no steak. But that's not how I see Burning Man at all, and that's not how I see this. Burning Man lights fires inside of people. So you go as a banker, you get inspired by how people can interact and creativity and art and expression, and then something in you goes, wait, I want to use my energy in a different way. I got an idea, I got inspired by that person. And so it's this collective vibration of what we wish we could be. So the event doesn't do anything. The event changes people, those people change things. That's how I see this, and that's why I would like to go to the San Diego one, which is I think a week from Friday. The one this weekend in LA overlaps with First Saturdays, which is the charity thing I do, and so I'm not going to go up to LA, but I would like to participate, and I'm planning on participating in the San Diego one, which I think is on the 7th, I think that sounds right? Friday, next Friday. So maybe I'll see some of you there. I don't know how long I'll stay. I'm playing this by ear and listening and learning as I go. And in fact, I could learn things between now and then that make me say, you know what, this is not something I want to get behind. But that's my plan. Now, here's where even if you think this is so silly, this is such a waste of time, this is such a, I mean, this is an example, I mean, there's a lot of arguments you could make that this is ridiculous. What you cannot argue is that people have the right to be frustrated. And what you cannot argue is people have the right to be frustrated in public without having their cameras pulled from them, being arrested, and being brutalized by police. Now, I recognize that of the hundreds, thousands of police that have been working this, almost all of them are great people doing great jobs. But there have been a few, And you can see in the videos of people pepper spraying or being way more rough than they need to for peaceful protesters that have not been sanctioned. There have been no decrees. There have been basically what the precedent that's being set is, if you protest, you got to be prepared to take a baton or some you know, mace. And it's like, whoa, that is not okay. I don't care if they're Tea Party people. I don't care if they're Klansmen. I don't care what they're protesting. You got to be able to protest. If you think that a protest does nothing, and if you think that if you do protest, you're going to be hammered, injured, jailed, well then what's your motivation to not do something drastic? People give so, I mean, the difference between a terrorist and a patriot is who's in charge and what side you're on. And if Al-Qaeda thought that they could have a voice by sending emails and recording YouTube videos, then I bet that would have lowered some of the frustration. But when you feel like nothing you can do matters, that's when you go, well, they're giving me no choice. There's a great JFK quote, and I hope I can find it. Let's see if I go. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. There was a time a couple weeks ago when the power went out in San Diego for a long period of time, and I was like, what if something like that happens while people are this fired up and feel like the system is letting them down in this dramatic ways? What's the motivation to keep following the rules? Part of me is like, I mean, we didn't, the impact of 9/11 did not snap people into behaviors that changed. It made us, it snapped us back and being, more rough with our foreign powers and things. So, and it drove us even more apart. So it's like, after seeing the way our country reacted to that, it became very clear to me that for real change to happen, it's not marches, it's not even a couple thousand people dying, it's like lots of people being massively affected. So, I don't know. I think that change is important. I think that the last thing I want to say is that, so, it's easy to say everything sucks and things are terrible and it's worse than it's ever been. And that has been kind of the stance that almost everyone takes in every culture throughout history. It's never been this bad. The corruption is horrible. We need to fix it. That being said, you could make the argument that's true. But my point is that just as your life is a process of you do what feels right until it doesn't, and then you correct, and then you do what feels right until it doesn't, and then you correct, that's the same thing our culture is doing. And I think that we're in a period right now of going, this doesn't feel right. What do we need to do to correct? And if the system won't even allow the discussion to happen without mace flying around, that discussion is going to become a brawl, and something is going to happen. My prayers, if I did such things, would be for the minimal pain and death from such things. But I also recognize that natural shifting, the way the universe works is tension, release, chaos, order, life, death, growth, decay. And so I'm simply open to the next steps and hope that thinking in terms of towards solutions, thinking in terms of towards unity, is the direction that enough people are thinking and brainstorming and acting on, that the change comes from a place of love. In the meantime, in this now moment, nothing is lacking. In this now moment, we are rich beyond measure. In this now moment, we are free with our thoughts and our feelings. Let's have a HugNation hug. Wherever you are, grab yourselves by the shoulders Give yourself a hug. And recognize that as you hug this body, you are hugging the bodies of all your other brothers and sisters. And recognize that no matter what tension, no matter what disagreements of ideology, anyone you've encountered this week on the news, or in your path, or on the streets, or in your office, that all of those obstacles, all of those differences are in the realm of thought, in the realm of identity and personality. That if we strip that all away, we're all people who want to be connected, who want to express love, who want to be closer to those that are important to them, to protect what they feel is important in those people. And deep down beneath that is this seed of divine light, the seed of warmth and love that is often too scared or too hidden or too lost to really be felt. But we try to awaken it in ourselves, and we try to recognize that everybody has it. And so that when things get tough, when people get their foundations shaken, we can recover and fall into and recognize the unity that we have. And we can, with compassion, face every challenge and every person, falling not into battles, but into collaborations. For just one deep breath, let's feel connected to all the people in the world. Take a deep breath. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the Love Warriors, happy Hug Nation. I love you. Namaste.
You only live once. Enjoy the color.